It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Wednesday, September the 6th. That was Honky Tonk Women by the Rolling Stones from London, England. That song was released as a single on the 4th of July, 1969. That was 150 years ago. And the Rolling Stones are announcing their new album drop today in 2023. Good Lord.
Yeah.
And on the 1969 United States tour, that's when they famously finished the year at Altamont in a tragic event. That was the first year where Mick Jagger started fielding the same question that he's heard every year since. Is this your final tour? Right. That started in 1969. They are releasing a new album called Hackney Diamonds imminently. There's a big press event in London today, a live stream event on YouTube with Jimmy Fallon. We're actually going to speak in about an hour to one of the many journalists who's in London for the event. We're going to have a new Rolling Stones song in the 9 o'clock hour, I believe, to play. Again, check your calendars. It's 2023. This band is 60 years in, and they are still doing giant press releases around new albums, new tours. They are still reminding everybody, as they like to do, okay, you can have the Beatles if you want as the biggest band ever, but by the way, we're the Rolling Stones, and we're still the Rolling Stones.
How many generations? I was talking to the girls last night. We were FaceTiming. My daughter's 30 and 26, and mentioned the new Stones tune came up. They love classic rock, and my one daughter says to the other, she said, this would be like if Teddy Roosevelt was still president. I said, well, not quite. Not quite that far back. Not quite that far back, but I understand what you're saying. But yeah, the Beatles, I mean, they broke up when I was a toddler, but the Stones, it's generation after generation. And I'll tell you, they've released so many albums, and we've done this for past album releases. I like this one.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm surprised at my, and okay, I'm a musician. I grew up. I took more than enough pages from the Stones book as a drummer and as a member of a band that did the same thing proudly and happily. Hugely influenced by the Rolling Stones. I grew up in a family where Stones records were played every day. We're all here on a classic rock radio station, so of course we're excited about a Stones record, but not really. But today, really, no. I mean, like when A Bigger Bang came out in 2005, I literally rolled my eyes. I was like, guys, enough already. That's what I said. Yeah. I remember in the 90s, they put out a song where the song was, "Has Anybody Seen My Baby?" And I saw the video, and I went, you're Mick Jagger. You're not losing a baby. Your woman has not run off with another guy. You're Mick Jagger. Write a song about your real life, please. And I just, that was my headspace at the time. Yeah. In 2023, I'm like, this is the antidote that we all need as new Stones music. I saw them in 2021. I know, Candace, you saw them here in 2021.
Yep.
Not a bad show, was it?
Oh, it was so fun. They're always great, though. I've seen them a few times, and they came out with a song like during COVID called "Living in a Ghost Town."
That's right.
That's a great song, and I play that song a lot in my spin class, actually. So I'm excited about the new stuff.
Okay, again, we just started the show with Honky Tonk Women, 1969. I turned 4 the month after that. That song came out the month that Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. I don't think Neil Armstrong's putting out a record this week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just it's astonishing. And for the record, when you think about how much of a part of all of our lives the Rolling Stones have been for so long, that song, Honky Tonk Women, the source of a giant Gorman battle. Myself and my brother Dave, he's 4 years older than me, and he had a giant growth spurt in middle school, so he was not only 4 years older, but he was like a foot and a half taller than me when this happened. Honky Tonk Women's on. He's singing it. And the first line of the song, I met a gin-soaked barroom queen in Memphis. And I heard him singing, and he said, I met just a barroom queen. He thought it was, I met just a barroom queen in Memphis.
I thought it was gentle.
And I said, you thought it was gentle. It's gin-soaked. And I somehow knew that at 9 years old. Right. I said, no, it's gin-soaked. He goes, what? I said, it's gin-soaked. He goes, no, it's not. It's just a. I go, it wouldn't be I met a just a. That's not a good lyric. I'm like, I'm John Lennon over here. Like I just wrote A Day in the Life. And he goes, What are you talking about? No. And I said, Dave, I read it. It's gin soaked. And I kid you not, that within 3 minutes, there were things being thrown at each other. I finished the fight that I had no chance of winning by pretending I had given up. And then when he was walking away from me, the one time I did this in my life, full kick, reverse kick to the nuts. I brought him down.
Oh, wow.
It was like felling an oak tree for me because he was a foot taller than me.
David and Goliath.
And then I ran. Well, it was David and David because it was my brother Dave. I tore out. I tore ass out of there on my bike, shooting down the driveway. Gone. So the Rolling Stones, plenty of warm, fuzzy memories for all of us with this band.
Now, do you think that when they sat down and penned Gin-Soaked Barroom Queen in Memphis, they also, the original line was, she blew my nose and then she blew my mind?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah, I was trying to reconcile that as a kid. Like, she blew my nose. Well, there's nothing fun about. And then you get a little older and go, oh, I see what she's doing.
She was very caring. She was the nursing.
You wanted it released.
Mick, you've got allergies, honey. Let me blow that nose for you.
Right.
Here's a hanky.
I
Put
saw
your face forward.
I saw the quote again this morning with Mick Jagger talking about how long they've been at it. And it was from a Rolling Stone article. I was trying to find some audio, but it was just a Rolling Stone article, so no audio. But the quote was, they asked him about how long he thought the Stones would continue on. He said, well, I don't want to still be doing this when I'm 40.
Of course.
Crying out loud.
Of course. Yeah. No, why? My God, can you imagine? I mean, Pete Townsend famously, if I'm singing My Generation when I'm 30, please kill me.
Yeah.
They all thought it back then. I mean, that's the incredible thing. There was no... If you had mentioned to any member of the Rolling Stones, you'll be doing this in 2023, even in the 80s, they would have looked at you blankly and said, you're kidding, right? There's just no way. I saw the Stones for the first time on Steel Wheels, 1989. That was my first Stones gig.
Yeah.
I went, my band, the Black Crowes, we had recorded our first album, but it wasn't out yet. And Chuck Leavell, the Stones piano player, played the keys on our album. So he hooked us up with tickets in Birmingham, Alabama. We drive over to Birmingham. It's just the 5 band members. And we are so excited. And we are all about Keith Richards. Keith is the Stones. Keith and Charlie, that's it. Mick is the little pop star doofus. No one cares about him. He's so over the top. He's silly. It's all about Keith, man. Keith is the one, man. It's all about Keith, isn't it? Sitting in our seats, 20 rows, dead center, lights go down. They come out. You hear the riff start me up. I'm like, oh, my God, here it is. And as soon as I get adjusted to the lights, Mick comes running out. He's right in front of the stage, 20 feet in front of me. And I screamed like I was a 9-year-old girl. I'm not kidding. I'm 24 years old. I'm in a band. I've made my own record. I'm cool. And I went, ah! I lost my mind the first time I saw Jagger on stage. It's fantastic. It's a singular moment I've never forgotten. Just the greatest thing ever.
That's cool. Steel Wheels was my first Stones concert, too. And from the opening riff, a guy next to me screamed the big woo, that he collapsed into his chair and he missed the entire concert. He was out the whole show.
Awesome. But he doesn't tell it like that. He's like, I was there, man. It's the greatest concert ever. That was also my first show. I was trying to remember where that was at because it was here in Minnesota. I don't know if the Target Center had opened yet or not. It was about that time. But, yeah, for some reason, that's where I'm remembering it. But, yeah, I just remember because that was the first classic rock band that I got to see, I saw Pink Floyd before that, but Roger Waters wasn't with them. So I guess I didn't see Pink Floyd.
Right.
But, yeah, so that one was, just a high watermark in my life, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we I did a tour with the Stones in the summer of '95. They were on the I almost said Bigger Bang. Bridges to Babylon tour, right? I think that was that album. No, it was Voodoo Lounge. And because the backstage area was called the Voodoo Lounge. And so we did a European run for about a month. We did, 10 or 12 shows opening for the Stones at these ginormous stadiums. And, we were we were a big band. We were doing very well. But just the difference in the scale of everything was just so astonishing. I was blown away by just the traveling trucks of washers and dryers for the crew to do laundry everywhere they went.
Oh, wow.
Like a semi filled with laundry equipment.
Who thinks of that?
Yeah, well, they do. Yeah. They had a sushi chef backstage. They had a teppanyaki table. Basically you could go to their backstage, the guest area. You can get any kind of food you want. There's a brick oven, a guy making pizzas. It was insane. I was like, nice. We got a dude making like mac and cheese, right. and some what he calls meatloaf. You guys have a sushi chef. It was just everything about it was amazing.
Yeah.
Greatest moment backstage. Keith comes walking through. We're talking to Chuck Lavelle, the one guy in the band we know, and we've met them all, like said hi in the past and hung out a little bit. But it's kind of a big deal. Like, oh my God, man, we're playing a gig with the Stones. This is amazing. He comes walking through the Voodoo Lounge, and Chuck Lavelle looks across and sees Keith and goes, "Keith, hey!" And Keith just raises a hand in our general direction, and he doesn't break stride. And Chuck goes, "Hey, Keith, you know the Black Crowes, right?" And he does not break stride. He does not look up. He goes, "Know 'em. Hell, I wrote 'em, baby."
Nice.
And we all looked at each other and went, yes, he did. Well done, sir. I mean, it was just a classic. And then he came back out a minute later. He's laughing. But it was like, yes, you did, and thank you for that.
Where his feet touching the ground.
Just the greatest rock and roll band. Truly. I mean, they've always said that. The greatest rock and roll band in the world. And at this point, you're like, yeah, really. I mean, that is a great rock and roll band. They don't make them like that, and they never did. Completely unique. And again, in the year 2023, about to put out another record and announce a tour. Incredible.
And a new song to play this morning about 9 o'clock. We're going to get our hands on that. We played a little clip for you yesterday. I'm not going to play that again because I just wanted to, I wanted to build this morning. But I'm excited because I heard it and I went, I've been through a lot of these new Stones albums. Here's a little clip that comes out and I go, oh, all right, guys. But this one, I don't know. It feels, it's got some guts to it. So can't wait to hear the entire thing. We're going to talk to, who is it, Sal Cicerone? Cicerone, that's it. I knew I was getting that not quite right. Thank you. It's 7 o'clock. Oh, we have a lot of fun stuff coming up this morning. We better get along. We have Mike Evans' Hollywood Report coming at 6:30. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Wednesday, September the 6th. In about 30 minutes, we're going to be speaking with a member of the journalistic community who's in London for the big announcement of the Rolling Stones' new album, and I would imagine tour dates. That's kind of how they like to do it. But for right now, let's move away from the rock and roll, maybe, and let's go to Hollywood. Oh, by the way, that song we just heard, Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild, written by the drummer's brother, a guy named Mars Bonfire, my favorite rock and roll name ever. Mars Bonfire was a stage name. That gentleman's real name may or may not have been Mike Evans with the Hollywood Report. Mike, good morning.
Come on, man. Walk towards you, Daddy. Yeah, be sure to ask him about the Stones' new single, Anger. That's coming out tomorrow, I think.
Well, word on the street is we're going to be playing that bad boy later today, Mike.
Woo! I can't wait. I haven't heard it yet. Have you heard it?
Just a clip, and it sounded pretty badass, I'll be honest with you.
There you go. Hey, this report brought to you by Marcus Theater. Don't forget, you always know that every Tuesday is Marcus Value Tuesday. But you also have to remember that there's so much more. We have the official Dream Loungers, lounge recliners that are so nice to watch a movie. I mean, it's like watching in bed. It's so good. My two favorite theaters today are the Southbridge Crossing Cinema and the Rosemount Cinema, but all Marcus Theaters are fabulous.
They are indeed.
Love nuggets. So check this out. Last week, Prince Harry and Meghan attended the Beyonce concert at the SoFi Arena here in Los Angeles. Meghan was really into it. She was dancing by herself in the private suite. Harry just sat there looking bored and yawned.
Right.
After the concert, they were invited backstage to meet Beyonce. So the deal is, every day since then, Meghan has either been hanging out with Beyonce or talking to her by phone. Meanwhile, Harry nowhere to be seen, but best friends, new besties, Beyonce and Meghan. Isn't that special? That is so beautiful.
I think it's going to be one of those.
So beautiful.
It's going to be one of those Monday to next Thursday friendships. That doesn't have legs, man.
No, I don't think so. Great news. Jamie Foxx seems to be back to normal. 5 months ago, Jamie was hospitalized, maybe could be close to death. Jamie now been out for almost 2 months. I mean, he's visiting friends. He's going to baseball games. He's playing pickleball. He's traveling to Vegas, Chicago, Miami, and Cabo. Now he's keeping steady time with his girlfriend, Alice Huckstep. And word is Jamie in no rush to get back to work. I don't blame him. You know, he's worth $85 million. I hear he may be considering just retiring. I'd say good for Jamie Foxx.
Give me $85 million and say goodbye.
There you go.
You wouldn't see my ass again.
A different kind of love. So we know Keanu Reeves was called the nicest celebrity by publicists in that little poll. But I got to tell you, my vote goes to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Okay.
The Rock makes regular visits to children's hospitals to surprise kids who have cancer. Dwayne comes with toys, spends a couple of hours visiting. His only demand, no cameras, no publicity allowed. Doesn't get any better than that, does it?
It's pretty great, but then, so why are we publicizing it? Come on, let's respect the man, Mike.
I just think he needs a little tap on the back. That's great.
That is great.
By the way, speaking of Keanu Reeves, that reminds me, I just learned that Keanu Reeves, who has been named nicest celebrity, is also considered one of the best celebrity bass players. His band is called Dog Star. They're pretty good, but I guess he can slap some pretty good runs together. Keanu Reeves. I did not know that. Did you know that?
Yeah, of course I did, Mike. Come on, let's be honest. How hard is it to play a bass? I mean, it's 4 strings. Most people only use the top 2. Come on, whatever.
I guess the only easier thing would be drums, huh? Ooh.
Oh, I'm impervious. I'm impervious to drummer insults,
I'm joking, buddy. You know I love you. Odds and ends, Michael Jackson would have turned 64 last week. I was going to mention it, but we got busy. And then I saw Reverend Al Sharpton the other day commenting on it, and I was reminded of Michael's funeral at Staples in L.A. when Al Sharpton got up and pointed to Michael's 3 kids sitting in the first row and said, quote, "There wasn't nothing strange about your daddy." End quote.
You got to say it.
Nothing at all.
Everything about Michael Jackson was strange. When I heard it, I just laughed out loud hearing it again. What is up, Steve, with Gary Busey being involved in a hit-and-run accident? Nobody hurt. Police are investigating. But my question is, how did Gary Busey get a driver's license?
Oh, we're going to go deep on Busey today. It's great. That's the story of the week. That's taking that diarrhea plane right off the headlines.
It's like Gary Busey's driving around in Malibu. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's. There's a reason Uber exists, and it's that.
And I got another quick list for you. The 5 meanest female singers.
Oh boy, here we go.
Number 5, J-Lo.
Okay.
Number 4, Ariana Grande.
Okay.
Number 3, Britney Spears.
Okay.
Number 2, Mariah Carey.
Now that's where I draw the. No, okay, that totally checks out. Go ahead.
And number 1, Miranda Lambert.
I the scuttlebutt down in Music City's always been that she's a for whatever it's worth. They say she comes by it naturally, which is a way of saying she's just bat crap crazy from the jump.
Yeah, there you go. Everything going good in Minneapolis, St. Paul?
Beautiful. The weather finally broke. It's in the 70s like it's supposed to be. We got some fall color coming within the next month. It's all ahead of us, baby.
And tomorrow, NFL football, and we've got to have one game bet every week, you and me.
Like I said, you pick the game. You pick the you make it easy on yourself, Mike.
I'll put out a little quick formula, and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Sounds great.
See ya.
Thank you, brother. Mike Evans just referenced the Gary Busey situation yesterday in Malibu. So Malibu it's a town on the Pacific Ocean. It's without traffic, it's 20 to 30 minutes from, like, say, Hollywood. With traffic, it can take an hour and a half. It can be a nightmare to get out there. But it's a very Tony enclave. Celebs have been fleeing Hollywood for Malibu for decades. We all know a little bit, at least, what Malibu's all about. Gary Busey still lives out there. He's driving around yesterday, and he rear ends he just hits a woman at a red light. And being Gary Busey, he's like, all right, later, dude. He takes off. Now, the woman, of course, gets her phone, and we've got some audio of a civilian, I'll call her, just an average lady going about her business, trying to enter the world of the mind of Gary Busey quite unsuccessfully.
Be wiped out.
It doesn't matter. That's not how this works. You hit my car. You have scuffs all over your car.
Progressive Insurance.
I want the number. I want the information.
Progressive Insurance.
Sir, you hit my car.
I'm private, man.
It doesn't matter.
I'm
you
private.
hit me. You hit my car. No, you rear-ended me. You can't hit someone and then leave.
Yes, you can.
No, that's not okay.
I love that it's the one woman in L.A. who doesn't know who she's talking to. Anybody else would go, dude, you're Gary Busey. I know who you are. You're on my phone now. You're fleeing the scene of the accident. Get it together.
Can you at least autograph my bumper? And it's a scuff. I think he said something in It'll Wipe Out. I think that's what he starts out like. I thought, Wipe Out? No, you're listening to, I thought he was talking about the Safaris. Now he's like, It'll Wipe Out. And it's a scuff. It really is. But her overreaction to this is just as fun as his sort of laissez-faire. And Mike Evans makes a point. You know, this guy, why is he behind the wheel of what's driving there? A Volvo C30, described, by the way, as a 3-door front-engine, front-wheel drive premium compact hatchback.
79 years old, as is Keith Richards.
Yeah.
Now Keith has got a lot of stories, but he doesn't have stuff like this at 79. I think Keith long ago was like, "Oh, life's better if I'm in the backseat of the car." Gary, get it together. I just love.
It doesn't matter. That's not how this works. You hit my car. You have scuffs all over your car.
Progressive Insurance.
I want the number. I want the information. No. Sir, you hit my car.
I'm private.
It doesn't matter. You hit me.
I'm going to use. There will be some time in my life when I will violate someone's personal space or the law. I will do something wrong, and I will look at the person and go, "I'm private." Mm-hmm. That's my new line. That's my new get out of jail free. Sorry, I'm private.
Leave hitting someone. Dude!
Aren't you just picturing his gargantuan grin?
Oh, yeah,
as
of
he
course.
pulls away.
Was it Gary Busey or was it Nick Nolte? And because, we all know that they're interchangeable in terms of, like, why is that guy still alive behind the wheel? One of them, and I think it was Busey, told a story once of being out with a friend, and they were aware of the fact it was like 11 p.m. at night, and it dawned on them that the bars were going to close in a couple 3 hours, and they didn't want to stop the party. So their response to that was to go to LAX and get a red eye to New York so they could keep drinking all night.
It could have easily been a Nolte line.
And I remember reading that going, that's a real special place in life to where that makes sense. And you're able to just go there and do that. Like that, a lot of people have that thought, but they can't just go buy a first-class red-eye seat at the drop of a hat. Mm-hmm. Most people that can buy a first-class red-eye seat at the drop of the hat are smarter than to do it for that very reason. Mm-hmm. That's a perfect mixture. That's like a war of the worlds you don't get very often. Not only can I afford this, I'm dumb enough to do it. That's a special thing right there for Busey. Hey, you know what you can do? You can meet up with Lisa Miller and 92 KQRS for the grand opening of Riddle's Jewelry in Eden Prairie Center Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Is there anybody you'd rather hang out with for a couple hours than Lisa Miller? What an absolute gem.
Oh, what a doll.
I love Lisa to death. Sign up to win a $250 gift card from Riddle's. Plus, you can grab KQ swag and other prizes. Did we mention the Stones have a record coming out?
That's right. And possibly a tour. We're talking about that here at 7 o'clock with a music industry big shot. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, September the 6th. That was, of course, Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home, Alabama. Skinner famously toured in Europe with the Rolling Stones in the mid-'70s as they were ascending. And some of the footage from the Nebworth performance is available on YouTube. It's an amazing thing to see a young Leonard Skinner sort of getting up there with the big boys for the first time and blowing crowds away. Always loved that. And, of course, we're talking about 1975 or 76 at a time when reasonable folk would have assumed, well, this has got to be it for the Stones, right? I mean, they're probably, at that time they were 15, 16 years into their career. Probably a great time to pull the plug. That great time still hasn't happened yet. The Rolling Stones have a new album called Hackney Diamonds. It's going to be released any day now. There's a huge event going on in London right now. Jimmy Fallon is going to do a live stream interview with the three principal members, Mick, Keith, and Woody. And Sal Sorrentione from Premier Networks is over in London with the Stones at the big event, and he's joining us on the horn right now. Sal, good morning, good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey, Steve, how are you? Nice to talk to you.
It's great to have you on the show. So Here we are again at a time, as we were laughing earlier, literally 50 years after everyone figured the Stones were on their last legs the first time around. What's the vibe like? I'm surprised at how excited I am about a new Stones record. We've all been talking about that.
Yeah, well, your enthusiasm is infectious and has spread all the way across the pond, dare I use that phrase. The crowds, not only of the media, are here at the Hackney Empire in the east section of London, but there are a lot of fans outside of all ages who are just kind of hanging around, hoping to get in the door. It's not a performance; it's just a Q&A. But any chance to get or see a Stone, I guess, is still a big deal all the way here in 2023.
They've had, over the years, in 75, they did the famous tour announcement where they rode on the back of a flatbed truck through Times Square playing playing music live in the city. They've always come up with a way to make these big announcements. It's amazing to me this still works in an era when it's impossible to break through. But I guess it just goes to show the Stones haven't really lost a step at all in terms of this kind of thing.
No, it's amazing, and not only to be able to stage a media event that gets the attention of so many people, but then, of course, to be able to still tour and pack stadiums. But, yeah, the quick backstory on this is there was an ad placed in a London newspaper called the Hackney Gazette. As I said, it's in East London, just a little neighborhood paper. And if you read it carefully and looked at it carefully, it alluded to the Rolling Stones. Not only was their famous lips and tongue logo dotting the I of diamonds, but some of their song titles were referenced, and so this was the first clue that the new album was finally coming. I mean, we've known about this album for quite a while. We just didn't know what the title was and when it was going to be announced and released. But that day is here. As you said, it is called Hackney Diamonds. It is their first album of original material since 2005, when they released, actually on this day, September 6th, Big Bang Theory. Or did I get that? Yeah.
A Bigger Bang.
A Bigger Bang.
A Bigger Bang. Thank you. Watching too many sitcoms here in London, in my hotel room. Anyway, and then, of course, in 2016, they went in to record the album that we are getting today, but while in the studio, Mark Knopfler's British Grove here in London, they wanted to test the sound of the room. And in order to do so, they started to do a bunch of blues covers, and they got into such a good rhythm and vibe that they said, let's just put these down. So they did, and that became the album Blue and Lonesome. But 7 years have passed, and they've still been writing. And so while this album does have some drum tracks with Charlie Watts on it, there are also newer songs, also a two-production team, because they did start out the original sessions with Don Was, who they've been working with prior. But towards the end, they brought in Andrew Watt, who, of course, we know from his work with Ozzy, Post Malone, Iggy Pop, Elton John, and many others. So it's going to be interesting to hear what it sounds like because, again, to go back to what you said at the very beginning, did we think it was going to last this long? Well, unless they lay down a boatload of tracks that they can put out a couple more albums in the ensuing years, you have to think that this will be their last studio album at 80 years of age.
Sal Cirincione from Premier Networks is with us. He's in London at the Stones launch today. Have you heard, are they also going to announce tour dates by chance?
I don't know about that. From what I've seen press release-wise, there was no mention of a tour. The press release, which was really just concentrating on the album and didn't even fully concentrate on the album. By that, I mean they didn't supply the track listing. The only song that we know on the record that is going to be released today at 10 o'clock Eastern is called Angry.
Right.
So it'll be 9 o'clock your time, 10 in the East. It's called Angry. That's the first single that's coming out today. Now, as far as the rest of the songs, there are reportedly 12 songs on – well, actually, there are 12 songs on the album. That I do know. But a list of registered songs for ASCAP went out a couple of weeks ago or made its way online. And so if you look that up, you will see the other song titles. And, you know, I'm sure the sources on that are pretty good, so I'm assuming that those are the 12 songs. But that information will be released in the coming weeks.
Sure. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, Sal, and I'm sorry if we've already mentioned this. I'm checking out a lot of information as we're listening and going along here. But who produced this album with them? I think Don was on their produced their last album. But you know who they worked with as a producer on this one?
Yeah, Brian, as I was just telling Steve, they did start the sessions with Don Was. But somewhere along the way, they brought Andrew Watt in. And Andrew is actually credited as a songwriter on 3 of the songs. One is the first single that's out today, Angry. And by the way, Angry, Steve will know this better than I. I'm not a drummer, but it does sound to me as though it's Steve Jordan on drums, has that dead-in snare sound that Steve is known for. So the first single, to my ears, is with Steve Jordan. But they do have some tracks of Charlie Watts that they did record earlier in the sessions that will be on the album. And Bill Wyman, their former bass player, he does play on one song in tribute to Charlie.
Oh, great.
If it's Steve Jordan, it's Steve Jordan doing his best Charlie Watts. That's how that's going to go.
There you go.
No one does Charlie better than Steve. I got to say, have you seen the Stones live? Did you see him in 21 with Steve?
I only saw the videos on YouTube. I did not get to attend one of those shows.
Pretty spectacular. Stepping into shoes after 60 years with one drummer, man, I don't care who you are, Steve Jordan, otherwise. I mean, he's been around the band, been an adjacent member of the band for decades, but still to step in and do it to the level he did was nothing short of astonishing. Sal Cirincione's with us in London from Premier Networks at the Stones thing. Man, I know it's a crazy day over there. We appreciate you taking the time to give us a holler. So, wait, you just said this. Have you heard the song or no? Have you heard Angry? Or just the clip?
Yes, I did hear. I did hear Angry. I heard it last night, actually, and as I said, it'll be going out. Matter of fact, you guys will be getting it direct from us at Premiere at 9 o'clock your time. Is on part of the news service that we provide to you, so you might want to check it out. Although I'm sure you already have it in queue, ready to go.
We're waiting for 9. Yes, we are eagerly awaiting to hear the whole song. We've heard a clip of it that they shared, and that was definitely enough to get our interest up. Sal, thank you for the call, brother. We appreciate it.
Oh, Steve, my pleasure. Pleasure to talk to you. And, if anything spectacular does happen, I'll let you know. But it will be on YouTube at 8:30 in the East, 7:30 your time, so you can check it out live. And let's see what happens.
Right on. Thank you, brother.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
See ya. It really, we can just beat this around all day, but seriously, the fact that Rolling Stones still pull off media events, no one does this.
I'm so jealous. I wish I was there.
Yeah.
Nobody does this. And let's just talk about it. If Led Zeppelin reunited,
right? Okay,
it would be this kind of an event. If Roger Waters and David Gilmour said, "Oh, let's do a Pink Floyd tour," it would be big.
Yeah.
But that's really it. I mean, this has all those this feels like something from a different generation. The fact that there people are flying in from all over the world just to be in a room where they're answering questions. I don't know. They just pull the puppet strings better than any band. They've just always figured out a way to get back. It's like literally, like he said, they haven't made a record of original music since 2005, and everyone literally around the world. And I'm gauging this somewhat anecdotally, but I'm just looking at my social media feeds. Man, people are fired up about this.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I was trying to think of another artist like you were that could pull off something like this. And of course, you've got McCartney and Ringo out there, and you talked about Waters and Gilmour and some of these artists. Metallica's a huge band that commands a world attention. But the Stones sort of created this, didn't they? Back in the 70s with their concert announcements and coming in on yachts or trains or hot air balloons.
Always something.
Yeah, I mean, they really started this circus back in the late 60s, really kind of blew up in the 70s. So this is their a way to communicate to the masses. They've really kind of within classic rock and rock, because this is new music. This is new rock that's coming out. I don't think anyone else could command this kind of world attention. And I was cheating a little bit, popping back and forth there, because I'm on the YouTube channel, and Jimmy Fallon's popping on from time to tease us. So every once in a while I was doing the old going to Q in my headphones there. But really want to know who they worked with. Don Was, of course, worked with them fantastically on that A Bigger Jam album. hard to believe it came out, 18 years ago? That came out, the last originals for the Stones.
Right.
So I'm glad he's part of this. And Andrew Watt, speaks for himself. If people don't know who Andrew Watt is, think of Pearl Jam, think of Ozzy, think of Iggy Pop. I'm trying to remember any artist that came out in the 1990s in that grunge scene or out of California has worked with Andrew Watt over the years. So, this album's going to have some balls.
Sure. I've worked with Don Was on a few projects over the years, and the Stones stories that he would tell all centered around the same thing, which is that the Stones know the Stones more than you know the Stones. Like what he would say is they are a like this amorphous amoeba shift-shaping entity at any time. In the studio, there's, Keith will pick up the bass and they'll bounce around. Everybody kind of does their own thing. And to get them to focus is absolutely impossible. You just show up and they're in the studio and everyone just waits for some weird cue to happen where suddenly they're like, oh, let's be the Rolling Stones for exactly 4 minutes and 31 seconds. And then they play a take of a song. Don said, they can run down a track a dozen times and it's completely, it makes no sense. Like no one knows the arrangement. They can't agree on a tempo. They're not arguing, but they're all interjecting different ideas, different suggestions. It's ramshackle. And Don goes, the first time I worked with him, I'm thinking, we'll be lucky to get a demo out of this at the end of the day. And he goes, and then like this moment just happens and everything falls into place. He goes, it's like you throw up, a handful of like playing cards and they land and it's a straight flush. And for 4 or 5 minutes, you just get this thing on tape and then it ends and they'll all be like, yeah, that was it. They just know right away that 5 minutes earlier there was nothing, and 5 minutes later there's more nothing, but now with tea. And then, but in the middle, they just hit this magical take. And I spent a lot of time too with Bobby Keys, the longtime saxophonist of the Stones, and played a lot of gigs in a band we threw together in Nashville. Bobby Keys and the Suffering Bastards. It was a good time to play, and the whole conceit of the band was we're going to put a bunch of guys together and just play all the songs Bobby has recorded over the years. So not just Stones, but John Lennon songs, Clapton songs, all this great stuff. And Bobby would tell the exact same thing. He's talking about Exile on Main Street sessions, and he's like, we'd sit around and for 3 days couldn't get a take to save our lives. And then all of a sudden, like, out of the blue, they would just be in the middle of a jam and suddenly would stop. Oh, wait, stop. Okay, roll tape, start over. And then like there would be this 9-minute burst of magic, and they couldn't explain it. They were just like, what the hell did we just do? Like the Can't You Hear Me Knocking, the greatest on tape jam in Stones history from Sticky Fingers. Bobby would talk. That's exactly what it was. He goes, we played that once. We were
seriously.
They're just guiding each other through the studio. Put it down on tape, finished it, and they were like, what the hell was that? Like, he goes, there was always this extra member that was the collective plus one that they couldn't identify. And I'm very curious to hear, and Charlie Watts, of course, is a huge part of that. Chemistry, bands are chemistry at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear if Steve Jordan is able to carry that. I love Steve.
Yeah.
That's what I think about. I'm going real inside baseball here, but I'm dying to hear how well they find those moments with a new drummer after 60 years.
How horrible to be a studio engineer when that moment happens. He said, I didn't hit record. I'm sorry, guys.
You're just always running tape, aren't you? You talked about Sticky Fingers. Mick Taylor, of course, part of the group. Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, arguably some of their best material ever. Yeah. And he recently did an interview and talked about those Stone years, which he hasn't a lot over the years. And he said, you know what would drive him crazy? The exact thing you talked about. He said, we'd just be in a castle in France, knocking around, drinking, smoking, wives wandering from one room to another. And he's thinking, are we going to record a song? I mean, this guy was with John Mayall and everybody else. He's like, are we putting a song together? He goes, all of a sudden, somebody started playing something. And he'd say to himself, I think that was a song.
Yep.
I think we just recorded a song, and they're still, cranking it out that way. So, it's exciting. I don't even know what the hell we're doing at 7:30. I know we have a game show at 8 o'clock. Oh, yeah. Am I the Jerk? We dug around a little bit, and we're going to mix it up. We're coming back with the Stones tune, of course, at 9 o'clock. We have a game show at 8 o'clock. I don't know what else is going on. I'm all amped up about this Stone thing. It's happening again.
It's all right. It's okay. We're all going to get through it together.
Yeah. Am I the Jerk? Don't vote yet. I'm not the jerk. Well, I might be. We'll find out here at 7:30. Weigh in. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Wednesday, September the 6th. At 9 o'clock this morning, we're going to have a new Rolling Stones song to play. In about 30 minutes, we're going to have a game, give away some tickets. That's going to be exciting. But for right now, man, what a crazy story that we came across today. So we mention these on occasion. AITA, M-I the a-hole. Can I say asshole on the air?
I think, yeah. I mean, sure.
M-I the a-hole. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
There's a Reddit page where people share a story from their life where they may have they're not happy with something. They may have overreacted. They want to gauge it. They go to the internet and basically they lay out the story and then they ask, okay, am I the a-hole here?
Yeah.
This is the one from today that's pretty great. We've discussed in the past too baby names and just like protocols around baby names. The best advice I ever got when Rosemary was pregnant with our first, my older brother Jim said, "Hey, what do you have names picked out?" I said, "Yeah, we're thinking." He goes, "No, don't tell me. Don't tell anyone. Never tell anyone what you're thinking about ever." Because whatever their reaction is, if they're overexcited about it, that'll weird you out. If they make a face, that'll upset you. You never tell anyone what you're thinking. Simply say, this is the baby and this is their name once they're born. Right. He goes, you'll save yourself a lot of heartache. Great advice. Because, you deliver a baby, you have a baby, and then you say, hey, we had a boy, his name is this. And then no one's going to go, why'd you name him that? They go, great name.
Yep.
Right.
If it's a potential name, they'll give you a real opinion. And the truth is, you don't want a real opinion.
No.
Okay, right. So that was pretty great. So don't tell anyone what you're thinking.
Yeah, also someone could steal your baby name, and that would be terrible.
You could get cut off. I have a good friend who our daughter's name is Marley. And when she was born, I said, it was a girl. We named her Marley. And he literally he goes, oh, come on. That's my name. I go, what do you mean? He goes, that's our name if we have. And I said, well, you can still use it. The guy lives in England. I lived in California at the time. He goes, no, I mean, can't, and literally 15 years later, he had a baby and named it Marley. He figured enough time had passed. Okay. But his is a boy. He has a boy named Marley, which is a cool name for a boy as well.
Yeah, sure.
Marley Jones. Sounds like a boxer.
Oh, that's a great name.
Marley Jones, lightweight. Discussing baby names with the people closest in your life is obviously your partner. That's a good idea. Should you discuss a baby name with a former partner? This is what the story's all about today. Here it is. We've got a woman who has a 10-year-old daughter. The daughter was the result of a drunken hookup. Well. She and the dad were never a couple. They were friends, never a couple. They have co-parented together successfully, but they've never been married. Their child has been raised knowing full well, I have a mom who loves me, I have a dad who loves me, but they have separate lives.
All right.
So that's all healthy and positive as much as it can be. They were never a couple. So 4 years ago, the dad started a very serious relationship with another woman, as you would imagine. Mm-hmm. All good. The other woman is pregnant. So the dad of this 10-year-old girl is about to have a baby with the new woman in his life that he's actually in a relationship with. The 10-year-old girl's mother is encouraging her daughter, you're going to have a little baby brother or sister. You're going to have a half brother or sister. Your dad's having a baby with another woman. This is going to be great. It's all great co-parenting.
Yeah.
Everybody's on board. It's happy. Well, here's the story. The baby's born. It's another girl. The dad and his new woman named the new child the same as the 10-year-old girl.
What the hell?
So let's just say the 10-year-old's name is Abigail. The new baby is also named Abigail. Half-sisters, same name.
No.
Dork.
And so the mother of the 10-year-old, right, who's on the outside looking in going, wait, I'm sorry. You just named your daughter's half-sister the same name. And the guy said, but the new woman in the story, she loves the name. She always wanted a girl with that name.
Spineless.
Right.
The mom of the 10-year-old, the woman who's on here, she got pretty upset at the hospital. She went in there and heard The nurses shut her down. They said, hey, you're overreacting, and we don't need somebody who's in a bad mood on the maternity ward. Basically, she was asked to leave the hospital.
Oh, my God.
I would have stormed out if I were her. This is a power move by the new mom that doesn't like the fact that her man had a kid with someone else and they're co-parenting and getting along. They always want you to hate your ex. They always want the animosity to be there. You're their husband now. I think this is a power move, and I think he's spineless.
I guess so, because it's not like this baby was a surprise. You had 10 months to prepare, or 9, but actually 10. You can tell I've been through this a few times. You've had all this time to figure out a baby name, and you know that this is going to just cause, and from all accounts, at least we only have the one woman's side, but the jealousy is misplaced because they were never a couple. They're co-parents, but they were never
right.
They were never, quote, together. There's no we used to be in love. They just ended up in a situation, decided to be parents together. This is the weirdest thing. I say, you may have overreacted. I don't know how you wouldn't. That would really, really wind me up, too. I don't think she's out of line at all for being upset about this. Since your point's up, dude is spineless.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's just an idiot. I think
Okay,
he's just stupid.
that also applies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
When the new woman says, how about Abigail? He must have looked at her and said, this is a joke, right? You've met my 10-year-old daughter named Abigail?
I guess I have another daughter named Abigail, but I don't know.
It's
That's what
just...
I'm imagining.
Quick side note. In preschool, my daughter was friends with a girl named Abigail, but Marley thought her name was Abigirl, and she called her Abigirl.
Abigirl.
Oh, I love Abigirl. This is. I knew a couple. There was a band there still is a band from North Carolina called The Veld, VELDT. I think it's a literary reference. Someone had a book called The Veld. Anyway, kind of a funk rock band, started in the late 80s. Twin brothers in the band, Danny and Daniel. That was their given names, Danny and Daniel.
So one was given Danny.
Yes.
All right, okay.
Danny and Daniel. The great guys, good band, the whole thing. But I was like everyone else that ever met them, I was like, watching the band, those guys are twins. They're identical twins, right? Okay, that's Danny, that's Daniel. No, I'm sorry. So it's which? No. I didn't say that's Daniel. Call him Danny. That one over there is Danny, and that one over there is Daniel. That's their names. I was like, wow.
My
Also-
brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl.
That's exactly right.
My roommates in Italy who are also in a band were Daniel and Daniele. And they called Daniele Danny and then Daniel.
Wait, is Daniele? Is this two guys?
Yes.
Okay.
The Italian
Daniele
name for a
and
man.
Daniel.
Daniele.
Well, see,
Daniele.
I think it works better in Italy, not so much in Raleigh, North Carolina. There's just something a little bit more acceptable about and Daniele. I don't know, flows a little better.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess, unfortunately, it's the daughters that'll have to pay the price for this, right? The parents are she wanted to replace his family, and I want this to be, because there are other names. I'm looking at the story now, and she said, well, my wife just thought it was a pretty name. Yeah, okay, there's lots of pretty names out there. So many pretty names. Pick a different. She has a sister now with the same name. You've just effed up their lives because you can't stand the fact that he had a baby with someone else and they're co-parenting, and that's going to be her sister now. She's just,
I'm Abigail Smith. This is my sister, Abigail Smith.
I wonder what he's going to name the child in his next marriage, because I'll put $1,000 that this dude won't last in this marriage.
So did they actually went ahead with that name?
Yes, they went through with it. Paperwork was signed.
Yeah. Weird.
When our daughter, as I mentioned, her name was Marley. When she was delivered at the hospital, as soon as she we've got her, it's a girl. Oh, we're all excited. We're crying. It's, oh my God, we have a baby girl. This is amazing. The doctor, as many delivering doctors do, immediately puts on some music. She hadn't had it on before, but as soon as everything was okay, there's just some music to wind down to, I guess. Like for our son Connell, he was delivered as the Joshua Tree played by U2. I cannot listen to that album start to finish anymore without tearing up, because it went from, I like that record, to, oh my God, this is the most amazing music I've ever heard in my life. And so when Marley was born a couple years later, she was delivered. It's a girl. She's healthy, looks good. Congrats, Mom. Congrats, Dad. Here you go. Here's your baby girl. And boom, Three Little Birds from Bob Marley kicks on in the room.
Nice.
Don't worry about a thing. And it's just a beautiful moment. Every little thing. ooh, and I'm just like, I'm a dad, I got a girl, I'm a happy guy. And then the nurse comes over, she goes, Dad, let's fill out some paperwork here. And I wrote down, you have to write on the paper, what is the child's name? And we had already selected Marley Rose as her name. I write in Marley, and the nurse goes, oh, okay, do you want to take a minute before you commit to that? And I looked at her, I go, what? I'm sorry? And she goes, I know this is like, we always play this song and people love it and it's a really special moment, but you might want to. And I go, well, I was still confused. I go, what are you talking about? She goes, well, the Bob Marley song. I mean, I assume that's why you just wrote down Marley. And I was like, no. I looked at her, I was like, I'm not 19. I was like, I'm 36 years old. We had a plan coming in. This is the name. Are you sure? And she literally said, Mom, did you she asked Rosemary. I'm like, she just had a baby. Can you? I'm not going to steal a. I mean, what if literally would I have named her Ozzy if the doctor had put on Paranoid?
It's none of their business anyway.
Right.
I know. She thought she was being nice.
Right.
And again, I wasn't really that upset about it. It's like, you did just help deliver my child. Okay, I'll give you that one. But I just thought it was great. Like, you really thought that I heard that song and made a snap decision.
I wonder how many dumb dads, though. Not suggesting. And, that have been questioned. I do know a friend of mine that did not like the name they chose he did not like the name that they had agreed on, but his wife chose it. And, you pick your battles, and he thought he went with it. But when he filled out the birth certificate, he did put a different name on. And that's Sam's name, Samantha. She's still Sam to this day, but it was ugly for a while.
I got a buddy, the same guy who was upset about the name Marley, my buddy who later named his child, his mother's name is Beryl, Beryl. Beryl.
What?
She was born in, I guess in the 30s, a Welsh woman named Beryl. And back then, woman goes into labor, guy goes to the pub. That's how that worked. Dad was at the pub. Guy runs from the hospital. Finds the old man, says, "You've had your wife delivered a baby girl. She wants you to go register the name. It's Carol."
Carol.
And he was drunk as a skunk, and he went in there and wrote Beryl, and they never changed it
Where
back.
was the nurse come to the rescue there?
The mom literally is like, Beryl? This child's Carol. Is like, sorry, love.
Beryl.
Put down Beryl.
Yes.
And her name's Beryl to this day.
You're my son's Hoist and Guzzle.
Tankard.
The tankard, that's great.
Huzzah.
But speaking of huzzah and some tankards, we're going to have a road trip pretty soon, and we would love it. And when I say we, I mean the KQ Morning Show. We would love it if you would join us. We're hitting the road for a long weekend, KQ Up North with BigDeck.com, October 5th through the 8th at Cragen's Resort on Gull Lake. You can join us up there. There's going to be a broadcast of this very show, the KQ Morning Show. We're going to have a karaoke party. We're going to have a happy hour boat cruise, live music, golfing. Why on earth have you not bought a ticket already? Book your stay right now. Go to 92kqrs.com. Sponsored by BigDeck.com and Cragen's Resort on Gull Lake. It's going to be an absolute blast.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, September 6th. It is not every day that we say, oh, do you want to hear the brand new Rolling Stones single? In fact, it happens very, very rarely. But today is that day. 1 hour from now, word on the street is we will have the new Stones signal. It is called Angry, and we will play it on this very show. I, for one, am very excited about that fact. We kicked off today's show with Honky Tonk Women, a song we've all heard a billion times. That song was released in 1969, and people were, at the time, thinking, man, the Stones have kind of really reinvented themselves. They're back. They're not the pop group they first were. They've got this new vibe, this new sort of their own imprint on rock and roll music. Let's see where they take it. Again, that was 1969. They're putting out a new single today, 2023. Good Lord in heaven above, the Stones are still the Stones, and I cannot wait to hear that song. Angry, we will have it.
Ooh.
We will play it for you. That don't make me angry. I'm excited to hear it. They are kicking off a big announcement, live stream hootenanny over in London as we speak. All sorts of information about the new album, Hackney Diamonds. No word yet on if they're going to talk about tour dates, but I Yeah, I know Mick's 80 and Keith is 79, but that's what they do. I can't imagine they're not going to play some more shows soon enough. A couple things we want to discuss right now. There's a new fad. I almost said bedwetting. It's called hot bedding. Bedwetting's an old fad. That's been around forever. Hot bedding's the new one. But before that, speaking of old fads, so help me out here, guys. You said it's a Rosetta Stone for KQRS as a whole, Zep. What is it I'm about to get my ears into?
Oh man, Tony could probably. This came along. The eras were split. So I came along after Tony. I was the guy that replaced after Tony decided to step away from the show. So this was pre-me. But I don't know how many millions of times we've played this thing and how many T-shirts have been sold. Let me put it to you this way. Remember the pair of choppers reference? You'll hear that in the cash call.
Right.
Do you remember a contestant we had last week for a game show named Eno Corpy?
I do know Eno Corpy. Yes, I remember it well.
That was a smart-ass KQ listener using the name of Eno Corpy, who you'll also hear in the cash call. And hey, if you're just joining the KQ Morning Show, outstanding. Welcome to the big party. So this is a radio station up in Brainerd, Minnesota. JJY.
Right.
Ken Thomas was the morning show man at the time. I don't know if Ken is still up there or not. And he did something called the cash call. Very simple, small market kind of thing where you call someone, you name a cash call amount that goes up, exponentially every time someone guesses wrong. And then you call them randomly and say, hey, we've been listening to WJJY out of Brainerd, and we have a cash call amount. If you know the cash call amount, you'll win that. And somehow the KQ Morning Show probably had something to do with Tony, got their hands on his outtakes.
Okay.
And we started running them down here in the cities, and it just took on a life of its own.
Yeah, what happens is I received a raw tape from a friend who worked at WJJY, and with some creative editing, I crafted what has become a KQ classic, and it really illustrates the charm and spirit of Minnesota up north. Now, these are real calls, real people. It's KQ's Freebird. It's pure loveliness. So, Steve, welcome to the magic that is the WJJY cash call on 92 KQRS.
Hi, this is Ken Thomas from WJJY in Brainerd, and I'm making a cash call right now. Do you have any idea what our cash call jackpot is?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Would you care to take a guess at it?
Your test call.
It's a cash call.
Oh. Cost call?
No, that's cash call.
Oh.
Well, we have a certain amount of money in the jackpot, and if you guess the correct amount, then you win that amount.
Well, cutting wood. That's what I was doing.
You don't want to take a guess at it then?
Let's see now.
Not a multitasker.
Just one word or
No, it would be a dollar amount.
Oh, I see.
See.
Well, $17. How's that?
Well, that's not quite right.
Yeah.
We had $463 in the jackpot.
Oh, yeah.
Would have liked to have given that to you.
Well, that would have been pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, listen, Mr. Sheffield, thanks for being so nice anyway, and you have a good day, okay?
I was outside cutting wood. I heard the phone ringing, so I run.
Oh, okay.
And nobody else in.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, then.
Yeah, thank you, too.
Bye-bye.
Hello?
Hello, is this the Eno Corpy residence?
Huh?
Is this the Corpy residence?
Yes.
Hi, this is Ken Thomas at WJJY Radio in Brainerd, and we're playing Cash Call. Do you know our current cash call amount?
Huh?
Do you know what our current cash call dollar amount is?
Who is this?
Oh, you're not familiar with our program at all, are you?
No.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we've got here. This is a radio station in Brainerd, Minnesota calling you.
Oh.
And we've got a jackpot where there's a dollar amount in the jackpot. And if you can guess the correct amounts, we'll give you that money.
Oh.
Now, I know you maybe haven't been listening. Maybe you'd like to just take a wild guess at it.
Yeah, I've been to Fargo to the hospital.
Oh, I see.
Just got home last evening.
Oh, well, I hope you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did you want to take a guess at a total or not?
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take a guess.
Yeah. Anybody can come.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, I'm sorry I disturbed you this morning.
Huh?
I said, I'm sorry I disturbed you this morning. I hope you're feeling better. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Hello.
Hello, is this the Ernest Toluca residence?
Yes.
Hi, this is Ken Thomas at WJJY Radio in Brainerd, and we're playing Cash Call. Are you familiar with our contest?
Well, Grandma, I'm kind of hard hearing. Would you talk slower, please?
Okay, this is Ken Thomas at WJJY Radio in Brainerd, and we have a contest we call Cash Call.
A chess ball?
Cash Call. It's called Cash Call.
Oh, well, Ernie's not home right now.
Ernie's not there right
And
now.
neither of them. This is just Grandma here alone.
Oh, I see.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You call again sometime?
We'll try back some other time.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Hi, this is Ken Thomas at WJJY Radio in Brainerd, Minnesota. We're playing Cash Call. Are you familiar with our contest?
No, I ain't.
Okay, we have a certain amount of money in the jackpot, and if you can guess the correct total, you will win that amount.
Make a guess. Let's see. But there are choppers.
Pardon me?
There are choppers.
A pair of choppers? No. That's not it. Okay. Bye-bye.
What in the hell? I can't believe
This is Ken
this.
Thomas calling from WJJY. We're playing a game we call Cash Call. Are you familiar with our contest?
Not interested.
You're not interested?
No.
What if I told you can guess at a dollar amount, and if you hit the money, you win money just like that, and it doesn't cost you anything?
You're gay.
Pardon me?
Are you gay?
No. I'm sorry. Hello?
What?
Yeah.
Welcome to Minnesota.
Wow.
Never gets old.
All
I'm
these
tearing
years
up.
later. I know. My gosh. It's just, yeah.
What era, when was this all recorded? How long ago?
That I don't know for sure. Not that, well, yeah, it's been a while.
I mean, like late 90s or more recently?
No, something like that.
No, it wasn't more recently because they started playing it in the 90s.
Right.
You know, so I don't know how long. But, you know, you had mentioned one morning about, remember the landline and it would ring and it was a big deal to answer the phone.
I thought of that. The guy goes, I was chopping wood and I heard the phone. And
ring, so I run.
I ran in to get the phone because you just don't know who it could be.
Oh, and I bet I was in Minnesota for maybe 10 years listening to the cash call before I realized a pair of choppers. I thought he was talking about his dentures or something. I was in a store up north, and there they were, the deerskin chopper mittens.
Yeah, they're big mittens.
And it said a pair of choppers on it, and I went, holy cow, that's what he was talking about right there, your leather or cowhide or deerskin chopper mittens.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's the cash call, and I don't know, we had probably, I don't know how many of those sayings on T-shirts over the years that we probably sold 1 million T-shirts with different sayings
secret
on it.
language.
It is a secret. So we've heard Eno Corpy, and you're like, oh, hello, Mr. Corpy. You had no idea that the rest of KQ Nation were snickering along.
No, I was like, I thought, what a name. Wow, good figure.
The Tolucas, and then, of course, you got a pair of choppers, and it was time to bring you into the fold.
$17, how's that?
Well, no, it was actually $463.
Right.
I like the, jeez.
That would have been pretty nice.
Ken Thomas was such a good sport about it, too. He recently retired, but they actually had me call in on their show at WJJY.
Oh, really?
To talk about it, because it just became folklore.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That is better than advertised, man. I have a headache now. I was just laughing so hard.
It's the best.
Oh, not bad. Well, we have the Stones coming at 9. You guys want to get into hot betting now, or should we just do a little rocking out?
I think we should probably hold off on hot betting.
All right.
Maybe think back to the days of bedwetting and then see what we come up with.
Yeah.
But we do have Rolling Stones music. I can't believe I'm saying that. There is a new Rolling Stones song, and we're going to have it here momentarily. That's pretty darn cool.
Well, hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Wednesday, September the 6th. Good morning. That was the band Rush. As you probably are well aware, Neil Peart, one of the great drummers in rock history by any measure, told a story once about meeting Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones in 2003. Rush was preparing to go on stage in Toronto, and he said he was backstage and an older fella that he didn't recognize because he was just in his pre-game mode. Neil Peart, moments before going on, he's warmed up, he's getting his head straight, getting ready, and an elderly gentleman approached him and said, "Hello, I'm looking forward to your show." and Neil was a little taken aback, and he said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you," and he leaned down. And the guy said, "I'm Charlie Watts, and I've always heard you're a wonderful drummer. I'm ready to..." Wow. And Neil said that seeing Charlie Watts at the side of his stage as he's ready to go on. Now, Neil Peart played like a man with 7 arms and 4 legs. Charlie Watts, the engine room of rock and roll, played very straight, comparatively very simple beats and grooves. And Neil said for years, he said he was probably never more taken aback, freaking out as he walked to his own drum kit. Because, of course, he grew up as a kid. He's like, there I am, 12 years old, watching the Stones on television, thinking, oh, my God, I want to be like that guy. Wow. And went in a very different direction with how he approached the instrument, of course. But he said, I was thankfully, I'd already done my full warm-up, and I was in that mode I had to get into. But he said, if it had been a few minutes earlier, it would have really thrown me off, which just goes to show, anybody that was, the Stones, that's first-generation rock and roll band. Everybody since had that moment. And it's funny, Charlie Watts and Ringo Starr, 2 drummers that you will hear people sort of disparage and how they approach the instrument. Like, oh, they're not Bonham, they're not Neil Peart, they're not Danny Carey of Tool or whoever you mention. And it's like, no, stop. Those are the guys that laid the foundation for every drummer since, especially in the world of rock and roll. And, just something I always thought it was fascinating. Neil Peart, of all people, was like the one time he said he really had to think twice and reset his brain was because Charlie Watts, who played a 4-piece kit all those years, Neil Peart played the biggest drum, a 360 drum kit that revolved around him. Yeah. And, but still, it all comes back to the originators, the original guys, and Charlie Watts, of course, one of those guys. And I'm mentioning this because the Rolling Stones are, as we speak, sitting in a room in London with a ton of journalists around. They're doing a Q&A with Jimmy Fallon as they discuss their new album, which is called Hackney Diamonds, to be released soon. And in a few minutes, we actually are going to have a new song by the Rolling Stones, their new single. But I think we've got a little bit of the conversation. This is Mick, Keith, and Woody with Jimmy Fallon, right, Zepp?
Yeah, we'll just jump in here. They started this, while we were doing our last segment, so we'll just jump in. Jimmy Fallon on stage with the guys.
Keith, you said that in the past that the Holy Grail is making records. Do you guys still love being in the studio together? Was it fun?
Yeah, it is fun. It is where a band can come together. And playing live is the other Holy Grail, but to record is where the guys can get together and pass around ideas without any interference, and and when it works, it's great. And there's some unholy grails too, believe me.
Yeah. And we were saying
it's a great place for a band, to work it all out.
And do you think about the fans when you make the songs, about how they would react to it?
I don't know. Do we think about what other people would think about it? I know. We just cross our fingers and hope.
I think you when you go in and you got to please yourselves. You know what I mean? You don't think about pleasing. You just got to. It's playing for yourselves first. You don't think about. Yeah. Later on, you might think, oh, people might like this, or maybe they won't like this.
Yeah. And also, it's like because after so long, you say, well, usually if we like it,
the crowd will like it.
It travels with
everybody. If you do a live show and you see someone lip-syncing the song...
It could be wrong,
And Lady Gaga sings really sweet on Sweet Sound of Heaven.
I mean, he's giving out some gems right here. Yeah. So Lady Gaga, is unbelievable, by the way. Yeah, she is gorgeous.
Stevie.
Speaking of fans, we have some questions from fans from around the world. Lou asks, do you have an all-time favorite Stones track?
Lou,
Lou?
No, Lou, they're not here. We actually had them
Lou
not.
has asked the most
We asked them to
impossible
not leave.
question.
No,
Once they had a question, we
I
asked them to
don't
leave.
have an all-time favourite Stones track at all.
No, Lou has asked the most
no,
impossible
the answer is no,
question
Lou, I
in
don't.
the world.
Somewhere in the world, Lou is sitting there going, I cannot believe.
That'd be the first question you ask.
Right, Jimmy Fallon had the same thought.
We'll throw Lou a Gimme Shelter or a Jumping Jack Flash just for me personally to play, and
there
I
we
could
go.
do them all night, you know.
Yeah, I like that. Off the Hook.
What's that one? I never heard of that one.
Sitting in my bedroom late last night.
Very early, Joe. Early, Joe.
Got into bed and turned out the lights.
Those guys are okay. You got Jimmy Fallon, who we all know. He's talking to a couple of men who are 79 and 80 years old, and they are having the time of their lives. Listen to that.
Yeah,
They sound like a bunch of kids.
And by the way, Keith sounds clearer than he. I mean, think about Keith Richards from the last time they made an original album, 2005. Back then, he was still. I mean, he sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, they look
sober.
Right. I'm watching. I was watching the video as we're recording this, and they've really never looked better, which is just an insane. Because I first saw them live on stage. We've all seen the television things. I first saw them live on stage, I think, in '89 and late '80s for sure, and they've literally never looked. But you can see how they might end up in a studio recording an album full of new music. So I don't know where we want to go. We have more of that, but I know the song. It's a hard release at 9 o'clock. Tony, you're in charge of that. If we have it ready, I don't know.
No, we're not yet.
We're still. Well, you know what? We can wait a few minutes for the Rolling Stones. Keith had the thing where when he was 22, he looked 16. When they first, picture them on Ed Sullivan in 1964. He looks like a little kid. And then by the time he was, 25, 26, he started to look his age. By the time he was 30, he looked 38. When he was 45, he looked 70. When he was 70, he looked 70. Now he's 79. He looks like he's 70. It's amazing. What a trick that is.
Yeah,
Jagger sounds great. He sounds the same.
Yeah, they're very, very excited. That's really something, man.
Clear and lucid. I don't know if you guys want to hear a little bit more of this.
If you got more that's worth listening to, rip it, baby.
This is it.
Sit him back down.
This is Maria from Argentina says, did you ever see a fan in the audience and think, I could marry that person?
I did see people getting married in the audience.
Yes, and I did.
I never saw anyone I
Ronnie
wanted to marry, but I saw people getting married.
Ronnie actually married someone.
Yeah.
You did?
In my dreams, baby.
Oh, my God. Ridiculous. Come on. But you never thought, like, maybe I
could marry them all, man.
Polygamy lives.
Yeah.
I'm a Mormon.
Sure it does.
Oliver in France says, Ronnie, I saw you played with Van Morrison the other night. How come you play with other bands? Well, I kind of just thought
Yeah.
Well, he plays skiffle. He's got a new skiffle album, which is brilliant, and that's where I came in the door, Yeah.
Skiffle album.
So it's easy.
When in 2003 and 4, I mentioned this earlier. I toured with a Welsh band called Stereophonics, and they had a really big hit in the UK with the old Rod Stewart song "Handbags and Glad Rags." At that time, it was huge, and so we were playing at Earl's Court, which is a giant arena in London, and Ronnie Wood came down to the gig to sit in on that song. And maybe another song as well, which is all, hey, Ronnie Wood's coming down. He's going to sit in with us. That's kind of cool. We're backstage before the show, and we're all cutting up and having a laugh and having a drink. It's all good. We go play the set. We get back to the backstage area after the show, and there's a ton of people in the room. It's a big, it's a London show. It's a big band over there. And Ronnie has had a few drinks at the time, and there's a dartboard because, of course, these guys are Welsh. Anybody British, they travel with a dartboard. And I'm not much of a darts player. I'm okay. And at that time, I was getting as good as I can be because I was just on the road in a British band. And somehow I ended up where Ronnie and I are going to play a game of darts against each other. And he's hammered. And I just wiped the table with him, which is hilarious. And I'm thinking, this is great. I'm beating Ron Wood. He's like, Ron Wood is like rock and roll Andy Capp. He's just a guy in a pub all the time. You just think about that old cartoon character.
Cap, yeah.
And so I don't even remember what game we played, but I won. And he was like, you can't beat me. You're American. And it was this whole thing. And everyone's laughing. And I'm just like going, oh, come on, Ron. I got to know where. So flash forward a few months later, we played a benefit gig at the Royal Albert Hall. He turns up again, stone cold sober, and he walks in the dressing room, and the first thing he says is, where's that big yank? He goes, me, right now. And he was still months later angry. And I said, no way, man, I'm retiring undefeated. And then, of course, everyone's like, no, you have to give him the rematch. And the game went like this. He goes, all right, I'll go first. I mean, he ran the dart, whatever it was, the 301 down to 0. It took him nothing. I mean, he just obliterated me. He was like, it's been driving me crazy. And I was like, if he saw me, he wouldn't know my name. He wouldn't know what band I was in, but he'd be like, that's that darts guy from Kentucky. I hate that guy. That was good. It was really good.
They call you the big yank.
Yeah, that was it. They still, they're still having fun. I wonder if any of those guys have ever done any hot betting along the way. I mean, you heard someone ask a question. Have you guys ever seen a woman and thought you could? Oh, of course they could. We do want to. While we're waiting on the Stone song, this is something we talked about. A new trend: hot betting. Hot betting. It's the next level up from Airbnbs. I'll just simply described. Hot betting is where you can rent a bed to sleep in with the owner. You are sharing a literal bed, not a bedroom or an apartment. You are literally sharing the bed. No funny business.
All right.
It is. There are boundaries, but if you need a place to sleep for the night, if you're in a town, people are offering something called hot bedding. It's a way to I have a human connection, but there's like, no, you've got to stay on your side. I'm on my side. What? There's a woman in Australia who's making a lot of money. She's on social media showing, I've got a beautiful queen size bed, and if you want to lay in it next to me, but don't touch me, this whole thing. And she lets strangers sleep in her bed.
What in the hell?
And she's making serious coin doing it.
It sounds like it would be a lot more fun than it is. So you're just sharing a bed with a stranger. How does that, first of all, as a father, young lady, what the hell are you thinking? I hope there's a big Guido standing right outside the door. But so so people would do this like you might go to a hostel to save some money.
Exactly.
I'm traveling.
Yes.
It's not a sick thrill. I just want to be close to a woman.
If it is a sick thrill, you're keeping it to yourself. Maybe that's even makes the thrill that much more sick.
Does anybody wake up in the morning and keep that to themselves?
I've thought about this.
It's hard to hide that.
There have been situations years ago, but I think we've probably all had situations where it starts off as not hot betting, as a cool betting, like, okay, you can sleep here, but we're just going to sleep. And of course the answer is always, of course. Well, that lasts a couple seconds, and you're laying in the bed. Yeah. You're like, hey, as long as we're here. I mean, I just imagine this leads to but this woman is successful hot-bedded with apparently a few dozen guys, and she says there's no problem, and she's making serious money at this. Hot betting. Well, don't call it hot, call it cold betting.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, don't your legs touch? Or what if you have a restless sleeper? You're tossing and turning. And is she getting sleep? Could you fall? Hey, thanks, welcome to the pad. All right, you got the money, you got the transaction. Thanks for the Venmo. That'll be your side. I put a glass of water over there. You have some Kleenex.
You get fingerprints and a DNA sample. I mean, all kinds of things before I'm going to lay down next to a stranger and just go to sleep. I'm assuming there's an ice pick going into my neck as soon as I'm out.
Yeah.
Something.
Right. I don't even trust her. And why doesn't she just grab the couch? That's why I thought it's got to be a gimmick, right? Because, I mean, it is, of course, a gimmick. But I mean, the gimmick being sleeping in bed with someone and not touching them. What do you, sting?
I don't know. I'd rather, like... this is as bizarre as saying, like, come over and let's ride the riding lawnmower together. I mean, what are you doing here? What really? I'd prefer a hostel. I'd prefer going to a youth hostel than laying in bed next to a stranger. Like you said, if the legs touch, if you're in you're sound asleep, and then suddenly you're being yelled at for touching. Well, I'm sorry, I'm asleep. That's the goal. I move around. I don't. The whole thing's just really off-putting to me.
Yeah, you got the snoring and the whole. I would rather sleep outside on a park bench, I think, than hot bed.
Yeah, it's just again, and it's a side hustle culture we live in. Airbnb is one thing. The hotbedding, I can't imagine this taking off. I just don't think that's going to be a go.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't see it happening in Minnesota. It's got to be one of those really exotic things out there, and
hot dishing. I could see it. Come over, have half this casserole.
Absolutely. It says
elbow macaroni, some ground beef, some spices, a little cream in there, and we're good.
Anybody can come. All absolutely.
Right.
There you go.
Enough.
A little
that works for me. Oh, Angry from the Rolling Stones released today. Right on. First thought, okay? That's a hell of a bass tone.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of bass. Badass, man.
That's a really thick sound.
Holy smokes. And a couple places melodically I wasn't expecting. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mick his voice is timeless. He sounds almost exactly like he sounded from the get-go.
He does. He sounds the same.
I think about things like, especially when I hear a new Mick Jagger track, and then I think back to the original Jagger stuff. Like, we all know what that vibe is, what he puts out. But how did he know at an early age that was okay to do, or that worked? I mean, I'm thinking, he'll say, what you want? Oh, yeah. I mean, the way he leads into those things.
Right.
Like, when he just did that, and somebody's like, yeah, that's cool. Just do that. You know, it's like, what? I mean, when I'm hearing that song, I'm like, that is just so, anybody can do that, but if you do it, you're doing Mick. But he's Mick, so that's just him.
Yeah, there was
it's
a great
incredible.
Funny moment with Fallon when they were on stage about an hour ago, and of course, Jimmy Fallon jumps up and does that with Mick, and Mick jumps up and says, "I do sound like that," and it was a hilarious moment. From that moment, the guys just as soon as they sat down with Jimmy Fallon, he said, "Tell us about the album, how it came together. We have that here for you."
Is in the video, and the album comes out October 20th. Hackney Diamonds. What does that mean? What does that mean to you, Keith? Anything? What is Hackney Diamonds?
It got called Hackney Diamonds because I think we were flinging ideas around for titles, and we went from hit and run, smash and grab, and somehow between that,
I like those.
We came up with Hackney Diamonds, which is like a variation of the both, and also it's a London band, you know, and we thought that was
obligatory. London, yes.
Hackney Diamonds, isn't it like a type of slang?
Yeah. It's like when you get your windscreen broken on Saturday night in Hackney, all round, and all the bits go on the street.
Yeah, a shattered windscreen.
That's called Hackney.
Smash and grab.
That's Hackney Diamonds.
That's Hackney Diamonds right there. Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's where the name came from.
Street crime. Someone smashes the window of your car, and the windshield. Hackney Diamonds hit the ground. That's fantastic. The Rolling Stones have released 30 studio albums, 13 live albums, 28 compilation albums, 3 extended plays, 121 singles, 33 box sets. So it's not easy to come up with a new title, is my point. Like most bands, you're like, how'd you come up with the album title? And you're like, well, I had to, let's see, we'd already done 6. This was number 7. They're like, that's the 145th time we had to come up with a title, isn't it?
I wonder if they've ever come up with the same title. No, we used that one in 74. Oh, right.
I guarantee you, song-wise, they have. There's no way Mick hasn't written a line and been like, that's a good little turn of phrase right there. And someone goes, yeah, it's called Tumbling Dice. 1970. There's just no way to avoid it.
Oh, they're so cute.
They're so cute and cuddly. Imagine the Rolling Stones being cute and cuddly. Look how terrifying they were when they first hit America.
No kidding.
60 years ago next year. 64, the first time they were on Sullivan. And 60 years next year. Unbelievable. Rolling Stones, new album out October, what did he say, 20th, 22nd?
20th.
October 20th, Hackney Diamonds. Cool. That song, Angry. My second thought, I mentioned the bass, and then the third. So it's actually, this is my third thought. That is a grower too. That will grow on people. That the chorus and the I should say the pre-chorus leading into it. That little melody is going to be an earworm, and that's going to work. And it's a long time coming. But the Stones may very well have a song that catches a little bit of fire. I think that song's going to really. It's not going to go up there next to Satisfaction and Miss You as an iconic Stones single. I don't think it would be possible in 2023, but I bet it's going to do a lot more damage than people expect. That's a catchy little tune right there.
Yeah, like the drums.
Yeah, for me, always it's been, I think for me personally, it's been about Keith's licks. When I think about the Rolling Stones, of course, you've got Mick and Charlie and Bill. That rhythm section was iconic, but it's those Stones licks, It's like Angus with the AC/DC, the licks. Name that lick. And this has the lick, that I'm going to be walking around air guitaring to.
And you can hear when it goes, and then immediately you see both of Keith's elbows jut forward.
Yep.
The way he, as soon as he hits the lick, and then he's like, I'll go put my arms up here, swave them around, and then come back to the neck. That's just great. The elbow work, when he's not playing. One of my favorite things. All right, there you have it. Angry. That's a hell of a song by the Rolling Stones. That's a hell of a band. I am now excited. We have just enough time to take a quick look back. How about a history lesson? It is September the 6th. On this day in 1976, one of the weirdest baseball near misses happened. There was almost a death on the field at Dodger Stadium. Steve Yeager of the Dodgers was in the on-deck circle when a teammate hit a ball to third base. The bat broke, and a shard of the bat flew backwards and struck Steve Yeager in the throat. And he damn near bled out on the field.
Ooh.
What a total freak accident that would have been. He was completely unaware of what had happened. He collapsed. The team trainers and everybody surrounded him, and he said, I think my shoulder's broken, right before he passed out. They got him to the hospital. They pulled 9 big splinters out of a 3-inch deep wound in his throat. And literally, they had to make a big lateral incision to pull out more splinters. The wound just missed the nerve column. They said he was literally an nth of an inch from losing the feeling in his hands and arms, almost lost his windpipe, the whole thing. It was just such a freak thing. 3 weeks later, he was back on the field, perfectly fine, finished his career.
Just a flesh wound?
Just a flesh wound indeed.
Yeah.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.